10. The TikTok Stalker. Ava Majory is 15 years old and already has more fame than most people can hope to attain in their entire lives. In 2021, Ava found herself the victim of an obsessed stalker who followed her TikTok videos religiously. He was so obsessed with the teenager that he moved past watching her videos and started physically following her. Then, in July of 2021, Ava's father said enough was enough. He pulled out a gun and shot the stalker to death. Of course, the father didn't go out of his way to track the stalker down through the streets like Liam Neeson. He shot the man when he showed up to their front door looking for his teenage daughter. The problem started when Ava began getting really famous really quickly. She only started making videos in 2020 at the age of 13. People liked her so much that by the time she turned 15, she had over 1 million followers. Most of these followers were acquired in the space of just 1 year, between 14 and 15, and all because of her dancing videos. And if you want to really know how creepy TikTok is, 75% of her followers are male, with most being full-grown adults. Her stalker started sending her messages, and so Ava thought she could get rid of him by charging $5 each for personal Snapchat photos. But that only made things worse. On July 10th, Eric Rohan Justin flew from Maryland to Florida with a shotgun and knocked on her front door. When Ava's father opened it, he shot him and killed him. Ava's father was never prosecuted because he was defending his property under the Stand Your Ground rules. As for Ava, she's still wildly famous on TikTok. 9. Obsessed with murder. In Portland, Oregon, a romance novelist who wrote books about how to kill your husband has been accused of actually going through with it herself. Her name is Nancy Crampton Brophy, 71 years old. She wrote a book literally called How to Murder Your Husband, and in 2022, she's standing trial for that very crime. Prosecutors say she fatally shot Daniel Brophy, whom she'd been married to for 27 years, to collect his life insurance policy of $1.4 million. In other words, Nancy was so obsessed with the thought of murder, so seduced by her own whimsical writing, that she tried to become a character in her own book. Her husband's body was discovered in a kitchen at the Oregon Culinary Institute, where he taught back in June of 2018. He died by a single gunshot wound to his chest while prepping for his morning class. When asked where she had been, Nancy claimed she was at home during the murder. But by September, the police had put together a strong enough case to connect Nancy to the killing. They discovered that she was indeed at the crime scene that morning. Plus, the cops were suspicious, since she wrote a book about a woman who spent every waking moment of her marriage fantasizing about killing her husband. She'd driven herself to it, and had definitely thought she was clever enough to conceal the crime. 8. Spying turned deadly. TikTok star Ali Abulaban was so obsessed with his estranged wife that he threw his fame down the toilet for a life behind bars. It all started when his wife kicked him out of their San Diego apartment in October of 2021. He moved into a hotel on October 18th, then days later snuck back into the apartment while his wife was away. Ali secretly downloaded a listening device onto his daughter's iPad. This allowed him to listen in on what was going on at the apartment while he was sitting in his hotel room. It didn't take long for his obsession with his wife to spiral way out of control. He heard another man come into the apartment and speak with his wife. Ali was so furious that he immediately rushed to the apartment, shot the man talking to his wife 3 times, and then blasted his wife in the head execution style. Next, Ali, who at the time had roughly 1 million followers on TikTok, called his mother to confess his crime. Then he picked up his daughter from school with the murder weapon still in his pocket. While driving with his daughter, he called the police and admitted to the fatal shooting of his wife, Anna Abulaban, and her male friend, 29-year-old Cadenas Barron. As of right now, the TikTok star is still behind bars waiting to stand trial. Since he admitted to a double murder, chances are he's looking at life in prison. 7. Extreme catfishing. For almost 2 years, high school chemistry teacher Douglas Lay used pictures of an adult female film star to pose as a teenage girl under the fake name Ray Pelletier. The 25-year-old man did this as part of a really weird catfishing scheme that ended up with him being charged with 20 felonies. You see, Douglas was obsessed with male high school students. To trick them into forming inappropriate online relationships, he created this entire fake persona. According to the Santa Clara County District Attorney, he managed to snare 9 victims in his creepy scam. The scam started in June of 2014 and lasted all the way until April of 2016. During that time, he used Facebook Messenger to send explicit videos and photos of the female film star to students in several different high school areas. He was only busted because Facebook alerted the authorities of the inappropriate communications. Police looked into the claim and then raided Douglas's home in April and seized his hard drives and computers. He was arrested later that day while in the middle of teaching an honors chemistry class. He was putting cuffs right in front of his students. 6. The family gynecologist. Morgan Hellquist was the patient of Dr. Morris Wardman for 9 years. Dr. Morris had performed all the most intimate exams possible on Morgan, seeing as he was a New York gynecologist. But what Morgan didn't realize throughout their relationship was that the doctor had been obsessed with her mother in 1985. Her mum, Jo Ann Levy, had originally gone to Dr. Wardman for help getting pregnant. He assisted her by supposedly artificially inseminating her with the sperm of an anonymous donor. In reality, he'd used his own. He was so obsessed with Morgan's mum that he tricked her into having his baby. It wasn't until Morgan got a DNA test in 2016 that she learned about several siblings who'd also used the platform. And in 2021, the half-siblings came together to discover the horrifying truth. Dr. Wardman had fathered them all. It was absolutely devastating for Morgan, who realized that her gynecologist was her own father, and that her father had sneakily got her mother pregnant without anyone knowing. 5. The delusional stalker. Between December 21, 2020 and February 18, 2021, Daniel Clark stalked a woman he had become obsessed with. It started when Daniel posted bizarre accusations on Facebook that his victim's parents had abused him as a child. Then he sent her a direct message. Well, more of a direct warning to stop following him on her yellow moped. But seeing as she didn't have a moped, she just tried to ignore it as the ramblings of a crazy person. Then Daniel started sending her pictures of himself naked, and that was when things started getting really weird. He continued to threaten her. He said she was gonna pay big time for what her family had done to him, and he sent her a picture of himself holding a knife. Then Daniel showed up at her house armed with a metal bar and was arrested. After his arrest, the police figured out he was completely delusional and unstable. Daniel had gotten so obsessed with a woman he didn't know that he started making up stories about her parents, then turned his twisted attention on her. And yet, despite this man clearly being dangerous, he was given only 30 days of rehabilitation and slapped with a GPS monitor and a restraining order. His victim, who hasn't been named for safety reasons, is still too afraid to leave her house at night. 4. The real Dexter. Stephen Miles was just 17 years old when he became obsessed with the TV serial killer Dexter. He became so obsessed that he cut his hair just like the TV character. He started trying to act like him, and then he tried to follow in his fictional footsteps. On January 24, 2014, Stephen attacked his girlfriend of the time, Elizabeth Thomas, and stabbed her to death before dismembering her body. The specific facts of this case are so disturbing, we can't even repeat them all, or your ears might bleed. What we can say is that after he killed his girlfriend, the young politics student used tools that he took from his father to separate her limbs from her body. Then he covered all of it in a plastic sheet like he'd seen done on Dexter. About 1 hour after the murder happened, when Stephen's sister returned home, he told her that his alter ego Ed had forced him to do something bad. He tried to blame the whole thing on a separate personality. There's no doubt that what happened to Elizabeth was tragic and horrific, And to make sure that Stephen could never do something like this again, he was given 25 years in jail. 3. Murder in the attic. Jessica White was 21 years old when she became the victim of a deadly obsession. Her childhood friend, Jordan McClanahan, was obsessed with Jessica and wanted more than anything in his life to date her. This is according to what Jessica's mum told People magazine. Lots of his Facebook pictures were with her. He was always texting Jessica. He always wanted to be around. It was textbook obsession. On May 3rd, 2016, Jordan walked into a police station and confessed that he'd slaughtered Jessica. He then told the Hazel Park police where he'd stashed her. The cops found her body stuffed in an attic crawl space behind a false wall in her own bedroom. As it came out during the trial, Jordan had taken OxyContin and Xanax, gone to Jessica's house, and then lashed out at her for putting him in the friend zone. All he wanted was a date, but Jessica wasn't interested at all. And so, in a drugged frenzy of anger, he strangled Jessica and hid her behind the wall of her own bedroom. In 2017, the judge sentenced Jordan to life in prison, plus 10 years. 2. Matthew Coleman. Matthew Coleman confessed to murdering his own 2 children in August of 2021 after becoming obsessed with QAnon, secret hand signals, and something called serpent DNA. Matthew became convinced there was a secret conspiracy going on against him and that his enemies communicated through hand signals. What really happened is that Matthew became paranoid and insane. He grew fascinated with the Illuminati, and he believed he was slowly seeing the world decode itself like he was Neo in the Matrix. It all started because of internet conspiracy theories. From what he told authorities after his arrest, the more he obsessed over QAnon and supposed government plots, the more paranoid he became. And finally, in early August, Matthew left his home in Santa Barbara, crossed the border to Mexico, and took the lives of his own 2 kids. He did it because he was convinced that they were going to grow into monsters. He thought his wife had serpent DNA and had passed it on to his children. In Matthew's deranged mind, the only way to prevent the spread of corrupted serpent DNA through the masses was by ending his own kids. Otherwise, the whole planet would turn into an alien species, and there would be no real humans left on Earth. Obviously, Matthew Coleman was completely insane. And what's really scary is that he was a relatively normal person until he started digging into internet conspiracies. After just a short time obsessing over the bizarre articles he read online, he completely lost his mind. 1. Rejected. In Florida, a man committed a horrendous murder in the winter of 2021 because he was rejected by a woman who didn't like him. At least she didn't like him in the same way he liked her. The victim is Delphina Pan, and she was only 28 years old when her corpse was discovered in Miami Beach. Delphina had finished her shift at the Kansas Bar and Grill only moments before she died. She was an aspiring designer. She had a bright future ahead of her, and that was all taken away by her co-worker, Agustin Lucas Mariani. He was 8 years younger than her, a bartender who over the course of working with Delphina had developed an unhealthy obsession. After she got off from work, he followed Delphina to her apartment and stabbed her multiple times in the torso. It's all quite sick, and even sicker that instead of running away, Agustin laid down on top of Delphina as she bled to death and closed his eyes. According to sources close to the investigation, Agustin had made multiple attempts at establishing a romantic relationship, but Delphina was never interested. On the night of her death, he tried to force his way into her apartment to have what he described as a chat, and when she refused and he realized there was no chance of them ever being together, he decided to end her life. Thank you for watching. Would you rather find out someone close to you is secretly obsessed with you, or learn a family member has been stalking someone for years? Let us know in the comments section below, and don't forget to subscribe. See you next time. Bye.